Well, let's get started then. It's 2:02, and I get to introduce this session and moderate the chat. We have two very great and knowledgeable presenters today. We have Trish Hull, who is the branch manager of the Kearns Library for the Salt Lake County system, and Liesl Seaborg, who is senior librarian. Are you guys at this? You're not at the same library, right? You are.
We are now.
Okay.
Liesl is now our business librarian at the Kearns.
Okay. I had old information when I was looking at it.
It's okay.
No, that's not right. So, okay, great. Okay. I'm very excited about this presentation because it's about something that could be so helpful to our library users, and especially in helping them get along in their own lives and businesses and things like that. And having heard presentations from these ladies before, I'm very excited. So I will now turn the time over to them.
Well, thank you very much. So I'm really excited about this. This is something near and dear to my heart. I want to really start though with something really important, and it doesn't matter what size library you are. I am very fortunate that I am manager of a big, beautiful new building that was designed for all the things we're going to talk about. And I do have a lot of resources and a lot of opportunities at my building. But the things that Liesl and I will talk about, anyone can do. And our biggest resource, even though we have all these great things, are us, the people, those who are in the library and who are working with their communities. And I want that to be really, really evident, that you can have the smallest little library, one room, small, but you are what is important to your community in being an innovation hub and a business center, and you can do these things. So when I'm in this mode, I cannot see the chat. So Liesl, if you wouldn't mind monitoring the chat. The other thing I would also like to suggest is that a lot of you are doing all of this, but we are not by any stretch unique in this. And so if you have ideas, if you have reasons, and we'll be talking about some, and anytime if you have things you're doing in your libraries, please share them in the chat, because the more information we have, the better. So why should we even do this? This cartoon made me laugh just because, you know, you're watching the news and the Zoom and you see everybody's Zoom backgrounds, and I'm always curious about the ones who have all their books and stuff. And it, you know, as you could see by the number of books, I know what I'm talking about. If that were the case, you know, we would be experts on everything because of our books. So why should we do this? It's who we are. It really is. But more importantly, we're in a unique time in history. Soon, I know our library system, and many of you are in the process of or will at some point need community support to pass tax increases, to pass bonds. Maybe you're having a fight, they want to cut your budget in your community. You need community support just for your very existence. We are tax supported, and we really have to have that. Maybe you're at an academic library, but if you don't have the support of your community, whatever it is, then you won't succeed. And so the more people we can get looking at us and recognizing who we are and what we are, the better. And it is also our mission. We are here to transform, support, and serve our community needs. And we can do that. And we can do that in many ways. We have the resources. If you're a small library and maybe just have a few books, you have access to interlibrary loan, you have access to the state library resources. So we're a very fortunate state in that we do have a pretty robust database sharing with the state library and with other libraries. But most importantly, you have you. You are the resource. I look at librarians not just as being people sitting in the library handing out books, even though books are a brand and always will be. We are connectors. We know people. We know all the people who come in our buildings. We know the people around us. And that is our important job. And I think COVID really brought this home to us, how important we were needed. It's been really interesting as people work more from home, they're missing that connection of people. And so they're coming back to libraries, but not necessarily for what we think. They're coming back to be in the building, to talk to people, to meet with people. If you're work from home or you have a home-based business, you don't necessarily want to have somebody you want to hire or another business, a supplier. You don't want to have them come to your home to meet with you. You need a place sometimes to meet. Libraries can provide that space. And I think we've learned that maybe everything is on the internet, but it's really, really hard to find. And everything really isn't on the internet. There are a lot of databases, books, community resources, and people that we can provide the opportunity for people to get together and connect. There are a couple of things I want you to look at. These are 4 different resources that I've really enjoyed reading and learning about. I don't have an MBA. I'm not a business person, but I've been involved in my community and in community engagement and in working with chambers and businesses for 10, 15, almost 20 years now. The one I really, really love, Embedded Business Librarianship for the Public Librarian by Barbara Alvarez. I can't recommend that one enough. The old standard that's always terrific, and she just still does 101 classes on this, is Making Sense of Business Reference by Celia Ross. ALA Roots of Brass came out with business research competencies in 2019, just before the pandemic, so you may have missed those, but they are really excellent competencies that you might want to go through and see where you stand, and if there are areas you're more interested in and you want to learn more about, the references and the research is there to help you. I thought this was really interesting, though. This isn't something you can research, but I found that that personal experience is really important. And Pew Research in 2015 said 52% of adults 16 and older said libraries should definitely create programs for businesses and entrepreneurs. So if you're not helping your business community in some way, maybe that's an area you want to look at. So how to do it? Isn't that a pretty wheel? Don't recreate the wheel, even really pretty wheels like this. Don't do it. Just look around you, learn. You're a librarian, you're a researcher. You can find out what's already out there. And that's why I hope you're sharing in the chat some of your experiences and what you've been doing. So it takes a personality that maybe we don't have. Personally, I think I'm an introvert. I would love to just sit in a corner and read. But I enjoy now getting out and talking to people. And I find that it's not as hard as we tend to think. So here's some suggestions. Be brave, right? Inform yourself. Know a little bit about business reference, about what's out there, and about how we can help others. Know your community. Talk to all the businesses around you. Talk to the leaders in your community. Know your community. If you live in your community, it helps. But if you're not, pretend that you are. Walk around, find things, drive around. You look at your data, and you need to look at that. And we'll talk about some of these more in depth. Partners, know your resources and know your bandwidth. You can't do everything, but you can start and you can do a little bit. And if you're at a higher level, look about how deep you can get into. So it's interesting. I'm involved with Chamber West, which is the Chamber of Commerce for West Valley City, West Jordan, Taylorsville, and Kearns. And I've been involved with chambers for many years, and I'm now involved on a little different level. And we've been involved with what's called legislative affairs. And so we have all of our legislators, we have representatives from all of our senators and Congress people on our legislative affairs committee. We have many big business CEOs and different people from the businesses. We have the school districts, we have the mayors. We have a lot of people in this group. And we have started proposing legislation, which is a whole new thing, right? And so we've stepped it up just a little bit as a Salt Lake County library system. And we found that we can be an effective partner, and it's been important. And so now if we need that opportunity for a bond or for a tax increase, which we'll probably have to do here in the future, we can go to the businesses, we can go to the chamber, we can go to the legislators and say, hey, you know how important we are. You know the contribution we've been making to your chamber. Can you support us in this? Can you help us as we're doing our outreach to let people know how important the library is? So look at those resources. So it just depends on where you are. Maybe if you're just starting out, that's not where you're going to be, but there are levels. It's a spectrum, and figure out where you are on that spectrum. So let's talk about partners and community connections. We have a lot of resources out there. Businesses are amazing. So we have SBA, SBDC, and SCORE. If you don't know what those are, that's your homework assignment. Okay, find out about them. Go to their websites, look into them, and I think you'll be really shocked and amazed at how much is out there and what those resources are, and they're free resources. Chambers and alliances. Every community has some kind of business alliance, probably. Sometimes they're chambers of commerce, sometimes they're downtown alliances, sometimes they're local alliances, maybe they're restaurant alliances, but every community has something. Get involved with them. I don't know why we sometimes think that they're big, scary things or that they won't be interested in our participation, but we have something to offer all of them. And none of them want to say, oh no, don't join us. They'll probably say, yeah, please, we need more people. We'd love to have you join us. How can you help us? They all are always looking for more people and more connections. And remember, that's who we are, we're connections. Business schools and other secondary education. So this is an interesting area. Students who go to business schools have access at the academic libraries to really terrific resources, very expensive databases, and they can go in and just do all kinds of stuff. And then all of a sudden they're ready to graduate and they leave and go back to their communities. And they don't have access to those databases anymore and those resources. Maybe they go to work for a big company that might have a little bit, but they don't. This is where libraries, public libraries especially, can step in and say, hey, we do have resources. Maybe not as great as the academic library did, but we do have resources. And you can meet with them and talk with them and help them recognize that they do have the availability to get some of this research done at your local library. And if you talk to your business schools and say, hey, before they graduate, would you mind telling them about all the resources public libraries have, or let us come in and tell them? Governments, governments are great. And if you can get to know your local leaders, your mayor, your city council, that makes a big difference. And if you can let them know how helpful you are and what you have to offer, that can also be really helpful. And they like to know. I think sometimes we forget, we look at people in their role, like the mayor, the city council person, and we don't realize that they're also dads, moms, they have children, they like to read, maybe they have kids who need homework help, maybe they have kids who are getting ready to take some tests. So we don't need to just talk about our business things, but we talk to them about the library in total. That, yeah, we can help businesses and we can help your community and we can connect you, but we also can help you with your reading or with your craft, or we can help you with your hobby. We can help your student. We have homework help, all kinds of things. It was interesting, when I was telling you about legislative affairs, the legislation we're proposing, there was actually a press conference yesterday about it. And when we first started these meetings, the point is catalytic converters and the theft of catalytic converters and how it's impacting business. At our library, we've had 4 of our trucks have the catalytic converters stolen from them. So I'm sitting in a Zoom meeting with law enforcement from all over the state, with all these legislators and business people and stuff, and they're asking about experiences. And I mentioned that all 4 of our library trucks had their catalytic converters stolen, and that stopped some of our delivery for a couple of days, and it was a big expense for us, and that's tax dollars. And one of the sheriffs, and I can't remember which one it was, said, "What? Are you kidding me? That means my holds didn't get to the library when I wanted them, right?" And I thought, I wouldn't have thought of that. I would have thought, oh, tax dollars, whatever. But, he was a library user and he knows about holds. And that guy who stole that catalytic converter kept his book from getting to him sooner. So remember that there are people who have lives and we're part of those lives. Partner with other libraries. And I hope you're sharing in the chat, because every library can share information and they can help. So if you are dealing with in maybe smaller rural communities, but you're dealing with businesses, remember that they can purchase library cards from other systems. So Salt Lake County Library happens to have a lot of resources. For $80 a year, you can get a Salt Lake County Library card. I went to an SBDC training one time, and and these were people from all over the state. And I said, this is available if you're a Salt Lake County Library card holder. And they said, well, how do you get one of those? And I said, well, if you live in Salt Lake County, it's free. And they said, well, can we buy one? And I went, so when you talk to a patron about it, usually they're like $80. Oh. And so I told all these business people, I said, yeah, it's $80 a year. They looked at me and went, that's cheap. So it's all about your perspective. So maybe you would tell your people that if they want to be able to do free target marketing, that they can get a Salt Lake County Library card for $80 a year. That might not be a bad thing for them. There are a lot of nonprofits and service organizations out there, so many. And you just need to look around you, look at what your services are, what your patrons are looking at, what your values are. Libraries are about children, right? So we have Head Starts near us. We have a group called Friends of the Children that we've partnered with. And these are all groups that have the same values and desires that we have, and we're working to help each other. And workforce services and other employment centers, they're always looking for ways to get their information out. They get slammed with stuff, but they have a lot of really great resources. Health information is also really important. And sometimes they aren't sure how to get that information out. I remember when we were doing our Utah Health Literacy Coalition, our first meeting, we had some people from the Utah Department of Health. They have hundreds and hundreds of great programs. And I said, we have libraries all throughout the state that are in every community and every neighborhood, and we can help get that information out. And the person from the Department of Health just kind of stopped and looked at me and said, I never thought of libraries. So make sure we're on people's radar. So the biggest thing is you need to know what you're talking about. Know your own resources. It's so embarrassing if you go to a program and talk about a database you have, and then someone comes up and says, so how do I use that? And if you're not as familiar with how to use that database as you should be, that can be really embarrassing. Or if other people in your library aren't using, you might know how to use it, but they aren't using it. And they'll say, gee, I don't know. That's not the impression we want to give, right? So make sure you know your resources. We have books, periodicals, websites, podcasts, RSS feeds, Google Business. ULA's business group has a lot of good information. ALA Roots of Brass has tons of good information. So you can get a lot of information there, so you are knowledgeable about how to do it. You don't have to go get a degree. You just have to inform yourself about where they can go to get information. It's really helpful, really helpful to know your local licensing rules, regulations, how to get a business license. If you're a restaurant, what kind of health department information you have to know. That's usually available on websites. It can be a little tricky. If you condense it down and make it easier for your local people to get that information, that can be really helpful to new people trying to start businesses, entrepreneurs, all kinds of groups. So make sure you know your local, and that changes. Every municipality is different. So make sure you know your local information. So here's some tips and tricks. Elevator speech. Practice it. So if you meet somebody, you can tell them the things you have in a pretty condensed timeline. You don't want to spend a half hour. We could spend hours, couldn't we, talking about the things on our website and all the resources we have. Well, no one's going to sit and listen to us for that long. But if you're in a meeting with somebody, or you're at a group, a chamber meeting maybe, and you're having some networking time, have something to offer in that networking time. Don't just say, I'm the library, and assume people know what you're talking about. I have yet to meet anyone who knows everything we have to offer. Even your power users, they'll say, oh, I know all about the library. I use your website all the time. And I'll say, oh, did you know about, and I'll pull something out of a hat. Say, did you know about our Creative Fund, the database I think it's available from the state? No, I hadn't heard of that. So you have all kinds of databases, online materials that people don't know about, things you do in your library. Just today I was on a call and I mentioned that, we have telescopes, library of things, we have hotspots, Chromebooks, and many of you have all these types of things now, especially with all the COVID money out there. People aren't aware of that. They don't know you can check those things out now. And remember, they have families. So here's your elevator speech. We have meeting rooms. That's a big deal. There are very few places that have free meeting rooms anymore. We built our new library with 7 meeting rooms, and they are getting packed all the time. So if you have meeting room space, let people know. You have librarians, let them know that you are trained librarians that can help them with their information needs. Connections. As you're talking to people, say, you know, I know the people over here. I know this group. I could connect you. Sometimes we live in our little silos in every group we're in, no matter who it is. And so the health department people are here, and maybe the Head Start people are here, and maybe they don't know about programs they could share with each other. And so if you can make some connections to people, that is incredibly important and useful. Creator makerspace. I'm fortunate to have a really big one, and Liesel's going to talk about that in her part, but 3D printers are not that expensive anymore. You can probably get one for $399, a decent 3D printer to have in your library. And they are valuable and important, and people love them. You build it, they will come. It's really true. When we built our big, new, beautiful create space, at first, I was really worried. It didn't open for several months until after we first opened. And we got ready to open it. I thought, oh, no one's going to come in here. What's going to happen? It's very popular. You build it, they will come. They want to see all the different things you have to offer. These are things that it's access. It's why we have computers in libraries. It's why we have books in libraries. Why were libraries created in the first place? Because no one could afford expensive books back in the day. So we built libraries. We just changed the delivery method, right? Now we have access to technology. All of our ebooks and online resources, computers. Boy, wasn't that tough when we were closed and our people that desperately needed computers had nowhere to go. That was the first thing we really wanted to open up quickly was computer access. And programs, you know, we do so many great programs and people don't come, and we're trying to figure out ways to get them to come. Networking is how that can happen. The more we talk about our programs to all those other groups out there, the more word of mouth spreads, and maybe we can get more people to come to our programs. Be open to new collaborations. I have yet to meet somebody I couldn't really connect with and partner with in some way. And the only person I can really think of is the guy who owned the bar across the street from my library, because, you know, we just couldn't figure that one out. But the tattoo parlor, we did. We couldn't offer reading for tattoos, but I did talk to him when we first opened up in Magna, and I asked him to do the history of tattoos. And you know what? We had 50 adults come and listen to one of the most fascinating lectures I have ever heard about the history of tattoos. And he went clear back to thousands of years ago, right? It was just amazing. And that wasn't a collaboration I normally would have thought of. We also just recently received an award for a Read to Swim program with our local Kearns Oak Park Fitness Center. It's done in May for Drowning Prevention Month. And there every year, we just had a drowning this week, right, of a Utah person not in Utah. But there have been drownings every week this year. It's just been horrible, but that's normal. It's not unusual. And it's a very preventable death. And so I was talking with the person over the swim programs there, and we came up with this Learn to Swim program, not Learn to Swim, Swim to Read program, where they would just come, and she gives me a little sheet of paper that we send to 6 different libraries in the area. Kids read and they color in the fish. And then when they're done, they take it to the pool and they get a free swim. We're going to try and expand it a little bit and make it into lessons. Maybe we're just evaluating it. We've had hundreds and hundreds of kids take advantage of that. It's such a preventable death. We also put drowning prevention information on the back. So there was a partnership you might not normally think would work, but it did. We've done it with bike helmets, all kinds of things. If necessary, create a toolkit. When I talked about the business thing, create a toolkit for your location about business and what you can do to get that business license in your community, where you need to go, the phone numbers, the websites, to make it easy for them. And listen and get stories from other people. Find out where they're struggling, where bottlenecks are, and maybe ways you can help navigate that for them. Remember that we are really trusted. Of all the government agencies out there, we are the most trusted. And so that's important to remember and use wisely, right? Use that power wisely. But it helps for those times when people need things, they'll come to the library. If you have partners, you can say, you know what, we're pretty trusted. If this is important information, we'll help you get it out. But remember, let me go back one just a little bit. You can't partner with everybody. We don't have the bandwidth. We have so many people coming to our building that want to do programs with us and want to partner. And we only have so many hours in a day, and we only have so many staff members. So you're going to have to be strategic and selective. You can always offer information to everybody. They can sign up for meeting rooms, but those partnerships that are going to cause you some time and effort, be strategic on those and think about your staff. Make sure you have staff that are interested. And if they're not, have them come with you and get involved with you and see the fun of it and getting to see people's eyes light up when you talk about library opportunities. It's been really rewarding to see that happen a lot of times. Plus, it's a lot of fun for you. I went through the chamber. I was able to go to the Olympic Oval, right? And one of our chamber meetings was held there. And they had as the activity the Olympic sport of curling. And so I got to go out on the ice in regular shoes and push the little broom and sweep it and shove the little thing. I don't know the words, but it was kind of cool. And I could say I've done curling. And then the Olympics happened and I was like, oh, wow, I've done that. That's a little harder than I thought it was. It isn't just as easy as, I'm sure we all make fun of curling, sorry, but it was really fun. So I've had some really awesome opportunities by being involved with these organizations. So let's go to databases, because that really is our big opportunity. And the state library has a lot. Your library has some. If you want to tag into another library and tell people about it, you can. Everybody has business databases of some kind, I hope. You might have investing information, consumer information. Telling people about consumer reports is amazing. People usually pay for that, but if you get the library card, at least in our system, you can get consumer reports for free. You probably have a legal collection somewhere. Educational, LinkedIn Learning, Universal Class. There are a lot of different places where people can learn about things. Especially with business owners, they might have employees who need to learn English better, or maybe they want to learn Spanish to communicate with their employees, or another language. So we have language learning databases, right? So you can help them understand all those opportunities we have. And then citizenship databases. We have, what's that one called? The school one, where they have all of the databases for all of the tests, right? Any kind of tests you need to get into universities or to maybe to graduate from high school. There are just all kinds of tests that we have. Learning Express Library has it. So make sure you know all of your databases and at least the basics on how to get them working and how you can talk about them, because that's the stuff that they can't get just on the internet. But remember, it's a two-way street. We're not just telling them all about the library and what we have to offer. We're offering ourselves too, and we want to help them. So for instance, again, using the chamber as an example, I sit on the Women in Business board, group. Well, I could spend the whole time talking about the library, but that can get a little boring after a while. So now I can help maybe setting up for a conference or helping find speakers, trying to help them with what they need in their business opportunity and not just seeing it from our perspective. It's hard sometimes with our websites. We tend to be very locked down and we don't allow other people to tag in. But maybe in social media, we can promote their fall conference that's coming up, or that we're partnering with this group for this program. And so make sure you're offering them just as much as you want them to take advantage of you, right? You have ways to help them as well and to support their needs that isn't directly in the library. How can I help you? It's very simple. You serve on those boards and committees. You know, it's really hard. We think maybe we see all these big boards and committees and think everybody is just wanting to be on them. Well, they're really not. And what, 2% of the population does all the work? If you live in a community, a smaller community, you can probably name those 8 people who are doing everything, right? So having another person come in and volunteer to serve as a secretary on a committee or a vice president, even a president, or just serve to chair a committee can be very helpful. Promote their programs and activities, connect to other partners. We've talked about that. Research the information they need. The very first time I got involved in a chamber activity, I was sitting in a meeting and they were talking about how they wanted to build another business directory. And they had done one a few years ago and they had spent, I think it was thousands of dollars, and this was like 15 years ago, to get the information to go in that business directory. And I kind of raised my hand and I said, we have, at the time it was Reference USA, I can get you a list of all the businesses in Magna for free. And their jaws dropped, right? And so we have information. We are skilled researchers, right? We are information professionals. If they're looking for information, offer to do it. I remember hearing a class about this at ALA years ago, and the girl said it was right when Colorado had made legal marijuana, and they just didn't know what rules or ordinances they were going to need. She goes, I can research what's out there. I'll let you know what it is out in the rest of the country, and we'll figure it out. And so she did get them a lot of information on medical marijuana and on marijuana in general. And I thought that was great. Again, provide space. Know that you have that building, you have rooms, and offer that. Say, hey, we have a meeting space. We now have the Chamber West Board of Governors and the Chamber West Legislative Affairs Committee meet in our library in the mornings and every month when they meet. And so that's really been beneficial for us because they see our space and we know they'll support us. And it's easy for me just to show up at the meeting. So we have these resources. Make sure that we're doing it. So here's my last thoughts. It really only takes desire to do it. And I can't emphasize enough how much fun it can be and the opportunities and the people you get to meet and the connections you can be to people through that who come into your library. It's been a blast and a lot of fun. And even if you're an introvert like me, it's not that hard. And if you just go to a meeting, and if you want someone to help you, call me. There are people who are willing to take you to meetings, to go with you and to help you understand what's going on. It's not that hard. And as soon as you start, people will start coming out of the woodwork and come to you. Interestingly enough, when at Chamber West meetings, I've had several people come up to me from other areas and say, I know you and Maggie and other people are doing this Chamber West stuff. How come my library manager isn't involved? How come she's not here? So they notice if you're not involved. So, but you do need to watch that bandwidth. You can't be everything to everyone, but you can be something to someone. And you can start little, you can start big. There's this whole bandwidth. Just start a little bit. And if you need extra help, or if you want some more specific thoughts or ideas on it, feel free to contact me. I'm at the Kearns Library. I don't know if I put my contact information out there. When Liz goes over, I'll put my contact information in the chat. Are there any questions, Lisa? Is there anything I need to address in the chat or any questions?
We've had some great stuff here in the chat. Daniel Mouchley, I'm sorry, Dan, has shared some great information of things that he's been doing in his local area, and specifically pertaining to a mayoral election where the mayor didn't think that they really needed a library. And so he went over to the library and saw how much was going on, particularly with the youth. And he then became an advocate for the library, which was awesome. I shared the link to the state library resources and databases that everybody can access and share with their patrons across the state. And then Jamie Carter shared us a great resource from Web Junction on different ways that you can proactively impact business, workforce, and economy in the community. So we've got some great things there. I'll be throwing some links in there in a little bit. And yeah, so the chat's not been too active, but it's pretty good. I love how you're describing yourself as an introvert, Trish, because I never would have thought that. All my years, you never would have thought that.
That's true. Give me a book and a blanket and I'm happy.
And you're sad. Excellent. Well,
Okay, I'm going to
unshare.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing and you can take over now, Lisa.
Okay, thanks. Well, I am just thrilled that y'all are here. So thank you so much for coming. I'm going to just share my whole screen because that way I can jump to some other resources I found. Like right here, we've got the online state library, which is wonderful. I'm going to scroll up here. And let's start. All right, so I'm sort of going to be doing the boots on the ground portion of the Business Center and Innovation Hub. One of the things when we were starting our business center, we have a specific area that's been designated as a business center. We have a meeting room that's adjacent to our main copier faxing machine, as well as some really great distance from other areas of the library. And so it's been set aside as the business center. And as we were trying to put together the programming, let me see if I can get just a sec. I'm trying to get this to move. They're much smaller. Okay. All right. So as we're getting the promotion together to start pushing this out into the world and letting the world know that we had it, we started thinking and what we wanted the business center to do. And primarily that was to help local entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs to get started with their businesses and get moving. And then we added the career component because so many people in the area need career support, especially in this, the great resignation time. People are trying to find their new direction and get those positions. So we figured that would be an important aspect of this programming as well. And so then we decided, then I sort of took the reins from Trish and Lee Whiting, who was the assistant manager at the time, and started putting things together. So taking those ideas and combining them into something that was a package deal. So the first challenge that we had was how to promote this and make it cohesive. And so handily, we have a tool at the county libraries called Library Aware. And it's a great tool in some ways. In some ways, it's a little limiting. But in there, I was able to find some different resources and templates that I was able to modify for our needs. And that was the birth of Business Works at the library as our catchphrase. And we'd originally had a different catchphrase for our business outreach. And we changed it from Make Money, Save Money to Business Works at the library, just because this one seems to, it's not just about investing, it's about investing in yourself as well, not just making money. And so then branding. And so this great little widget I created on Library Aware. And this flyer that was almost pre-made for me in Library, which was great. And I'm not necessarily advocating Library Aware only as a place for great templates. I know there are other resources out there. Canva has some great things. You can always do things in Publisher or the Adobe Creative Suite. But we also like the tag phrase with that, the power of possibility. So Business Works at the library and the power of possibility combined really brings that sense of hope. What I was able to do is I then swapped out images so that it was reflective of everyone in our community. So I made several different posters similar to the one there on the left, one that highlighted the careers and job growth and exploration sessions that we do on the first Wednesday, and one that just basically highlights the fact that we have resources. And then this one, which is our main promotion for the entire series. On the right, you'll see sort of the template that I've got in place for the programming. So the first Wednesday, we decided to do career growth. And oddly enough, it's because I did not want to compete with the Chamber's bowling night. I know it's an odd thing, but the Chamber gets together and has sort of a networking bowling event. And because the Chamber is one of our primary supports for this program, they've asked for different things to help support the newer business owners. I just did not feel right about being in conflict with them. The second Wednesday, I take as library resources for business. So that way I'm able to present different resources in depth to our users and our patrons that come to the session. The third Wednesday, we have a guest speaker. This past month here in September, we had Zach Allred from Salt Lake Community College come and talk about the business resources that are available there at SLIC. And he highlighted some that the county library doesn't have that were of interest to our attendees, as well as some overlap. And so I was able to point to our library resources that match along with theirs. And then the fourth Wednesday, networking and guest speaker, this past, just really a couple days ago, I had John Gigi from the Small Business Administration come by, and he presented a lot of great information, and so much great information that I'm going to share some of it with you today, simply because I've got a little bit of a platform. And then the fifth Wednesday, I decided to make an open lab. So just drop in and whatever a patron would need, whether it be career help, resume help, or business help getting started with one of our business resources. I wanted to have that open and available without some sort of scheduled thing. So of course, we want to always highlight our resources. We want to tap into the community resources, you know, the other, like the SBA, like SLIC, business owners, local businesses, the tattoo parlor owner across the street in Magna, or, you know, the catering company down the road, the donut space. There's a great donut space over in Magna that Trish had cooperated with and collaborated with as well. And any local business that you interact with that might have something of interest, or even just a success story to share, is wonderful. All right, so we have the Gale Business Plan Builder, which is a great tool for putting your business plan together. It does take a lot of work. So we did one session on this. We also will be doing a session on Data Axle, which is that formerly Reference USA. Also a great resource for doing research for businesses. And of course, we've got the state library ones. We've got the Small Business Reference Center. We've got Regional Business News and the Business Source Premier. All of these are available across the state. Now I'm flying through these because I think a lot of you are familiar with what the resources are and will need to just do some exploration on your own. I suggest setting a task for yourself. If you were a business owner and you wanted to find out what you need to know, where would you go? Just set yourself a task, and then you will have that access and that sort of adventure exploring the database, because I know we're all nerds and we do that, so it's fabulous. So just go out there and do it. You want to have those open labs because you need to be able to support in the random way. So it's really just a very extended reference question or librarian by appointment, so which is wonderful. So here we are with the Small Business Administration information. So Trish mentioned earlier the SBA and the Small Business Development Centers and SCORE. Oddly enough, they're all funded by SBA, as is the Women Business Centers. They're all funded by SBA. So here's the information, the general information for the Utah District Office. And what's really great is they have three different functions as an administration. They do connection through counseling. They do funding. So they call it the 3 C's. So counseling, capital, and contracts. So the counseling is the Small Business Development Centers and Women Business Centers. Those are centers that will help you get your business in shape so that you're able to present loan applications and get all of your business information in a row, your business plan and things like that, directly advised. You know, SCORE, they do that as well. Again, all funded by the SBA. And the contract portion is that once you've entered into their stream of functioning, they can hook you up with the government set aside contracts. So if there's a business that has a way to provide contract services for the government, they can hook you up. So I thought that was really great. And they've got several different grants. They are still providing COVID support under their loans. They have lots of loans. I'm sorry, more loans than grants, obviously. But they have loans. They also have guarantees for loans. And so you can get a much better interest rate going through an SBA funded partner than you would traditionally, as well as they will guarantee it if you don't have collateral and that sort of thing up to a certain percent. So some really great programs. You can learn about those programs on their website. So just www.sba.gov, they'll take you to the entire country's SBA. They're all very similar. And then if you just add in Utah, you'll get that basic information. So I've got this URL, and I'll throw this in the chat in a bit, but I've got a short URL. They'll take you to this small business resource guide. This is the most current thing that they have, and it has every single thing you need to do to apply for a business. It gives the checklist that Trish was referencing of what you need to do to start your business, coming up with a business plan. It lists the different business partners all across the state, not just in Salt Lake County, but all across the state, and different ways to connect. It also explains the different loans and how you become eligible for those. So go ahead and check this out when you get an opportunity. It's pretty amazing stuff. So that's why I was really excited to share that with you with the small platform I have today. So the next thing is innovation. We are an innovation center, particularly at Kearns. We have several business people that are actually creating materials that they are then selling through Etsy stores or just through different resources, online, craft fairs, things like that. So these are just some of the things that we offer in our Create space at Kearns, but we also have others throughout the area. Like the robotics lab is available at some of our other branches. The sound studio is available at a few other of our branches. The 3D printer, it's available at all of our branches. And then we've got 2 new buildings that will also have larger Create spaces that will provide these services as well as other services to their public. What I didn't mention here in the list is our sewing machines. We've got a serger and sewing machine and an embroidery machine. Anyway, I've got a video to show you, which is super awesome. So I think I'll go to that next, and then we can go ahead and cover some questions and any other thoughts that y'all have. We do hear about success stories in your business community and your community on different ways you engage people. So let's roll to this video. Let's take a look. This was made using our tools in the Create space, including the software. So here we go. All right, that didn't work. Let's try that again. All right, so I do know I have to be top secret about this.
When you have tons of free time and nothing to do you keep ordering?
Oh, goodness. All right, I'll just go now. Sorry.
When you have tons of free time and nothing to do you keep ordering things but realizing you might be wasting your money? Now all your problems can be solved with the Kearns Cyber Create Space. This room has it all, and the savings are huge. Audio visual studio with instruments and equipment is free. Sewing machine, embroidery machine, and serger. Bringing your own supplies because it's free. Workstations with the full Adobe Suite and Wacom tablets. It's free. Sublimation machine. Bringing your own supplies to transfer on because the paper is just 30 cents a page. Cricut machine. Bringing your own supplies because it is free. Mug presses. Bringing your own supplies because it's free. Forge laser cutter. Bringing your own proofread supplies. It's just a low cost of 5 cents a minute. Bike repair station. Bringing your bike because we have all the tools you need. Make it free. 3D printers, a low cost of 5 cents per gram and a 50-cent flat fee. So the most you'll pay is $5.50. What a steal! Large format printer, make all your poster picture dreams come true at a low cost. Robotics and virtual reality, it's free.
Before the Kearns Create Space came into my life, my hobbies were boring. I had read every book and seen every movie the library had to offer, and I was feeling bummed out. But now I'm teaching myself to make projects with the Glow Forge. Have I spent a lot of money on acrylic? Next question. Am I having a lot of fun? Absolutely.
Before we used the create space, the gifts we would give each other were so boring. Socks, snooze. Clothes from big box stores, overrated. But now the possibilities of gifts are endless. Mugs, aprons, personalized pot holders, and more.
Using the create space is simple. Call us on the phone to schedule an appointment, or come in to talk with one of the reference staff and we will get you scheduled. But hurry, gift giving season is approaching and you do not want to wait until the last minute. So come on in and use the Kearns create space. We can't wait to see what you make. Side effects of using the create space may include the knowledge that you learn a new skill, a great bank account, and the desire to spend all your time with the best friend in the county, which is obviously Kearns.
That was just a fun video we did for F Day. What you see before you on the screen are this amazing, yeah, my brain just went dead. It's a calendar. It's a Mayan calendar. That's what it is. And that was done on our Glow Forge. And I'd say that the Glow Forge is probably one of our most popular tools that's used. You can see the detail on that. And then over here on the right, we've got a mandala. It's either 6 or 7 different layers of wood that are patron cut out and just amazing stuff. People do things with acrylic all the time, and it's just a wonderful space. They create gifts for friends. I had a wedding gift created that was personalized. They did a beautiful serving platter just a couple days ago. It was wonderful. So let's jump to the chat and have y'all pipe up with any thoughts or questions, and I'll stop sharing my screen. Although maybe I'll share it just a little bit longer so that you could jot down our emails if you have any questions. Any questions out there in the chat?
Or if you want to unmute and just ask.
Yes.
Or it's the end of the day and you just want to go home.
There's that too. All right, well, I'm going to stop sharing. We want to thank you very much for attending our session today. We know it was the last session of the fall conference, and we appreciate you coming. Hopefully you picked something up and you're enthused to go out and interact with your business community.
Oh, wait, there is a question. How often do you
Ooh.
replace the 3D things, sewing machines? So we've had 3D printing in the system for 7-10 years. We've probably gone through 2 or 3 different iterations. That's a really fast moving industry where new innovations come out, but they're also getting cheaper. The one I first bought years ago was $2,500. A similar one now is $400. So it's getting a lot cheaper. Sewing machines, we're the first ones to have them, and we've had ours for 3 months. So I'm hoping, or 6 months, something like that. I'm hoping we don't need to replace it. Honestly, sewing machines, I have one I use at home that I've had for over 40 years and it still works just fine. So, you know, we'll look at them and we'll see. I'm hoping we have a create librarian for the system who can maintain and clean and take care of everything. So by taking care of them, I'm hoping that we don't have to replace them very often.
Yeah, and there have been some problems that our senior librarian for the Great Spaces has taken care of. She comes in and she diagnosed when the 3D printer is messing up, when it's, you know, not hitting the base very well, or if the filament's stuck and just won't come out, things like that. She's fixed the Glow Forge when it's been off kilter, the sublimation printer. It has had some troublesome days. And it's just a matter of we're more high use than was expected for the general hobbyist. So our sublimation printer, which is built for the general hobbyist, is being used at a higher rate. And so we're having to do a little more maintenance than we thought we might need to. But
so there's also a question about, do the sewing machines get used regularly? We've had it used quite a bit. There's this one gentleman that comes in every Wednesday night, I think. He's making curtains for his trailer or house or something. And it's just really, I'm sorry, I think it's awful, but it's really cute. It's cowboy material, and I don't know what he's putting it in, but he's just been really excited to do that. I had to help him a little bit understand about gathering material and sewing it and then putting it on the curtain rod. Curtains are pretty simple. We've had other people come in and do quilts, all kinds of stuff. So I don't know about regularly, I wouldn't say daily, but we've had them used quite a bit.
Yeah, at least once a week we're seeing them
Yeah.
used. What my interactions have been is like, oh, we've been pondering buying a sewing machine. Maybe we'll come and try this out. And so I've seen that happening. I had a lady come in and teach her daughter how to use a sewing machine a couple weeks ago. What I loved is in the picture of our Create Space, you probably saw all of those workstations. Those tables are all on wheels. And so a quilter came in and actually was using 4 of those different tables to hold the quilt so that she was able to use the machines and make her quilt work in that space. So that's, I think as winter comes on, people may want to start doing quilting in our Create Space because it's so large and has that availability. And some patrons do need a lot of help with the machines. We've styled the Create Space to be do-it-yourself for the most part. We encourage people to read up on them, look up online, watch YouTube videos, read the manuals and things like that. It doesn't always happen. So most of our staff can get everybody started on the different projects, and after a certain point, we're out of our depth. We only we sell bobbins, so if people don't bring a bobbin, we do not sell cloth. The thread, if they absolutely don't have any thread, we might let them borrow some thread that we have, but it's not generally something that we provide. It's usually provide your own materials.
That was just our choice. We do have material that we let our staff use to learn how to use all the machines, and so they can go in and learn. But I have been to Create Spaces where they do have wood for the glow forge and where they do have fabric. And so I think they sell it as well. And honestly, if you're going to do that, wait for the sales at Joann's and all those places, because it's incredibly expensive, but sales tend to make things pretty cheap. Well, it's 2:59. Any other questions? Remember, feel free to reach out to us. And come visit the library. We would love to give tours. Let us know you're coming. I think the entire Park City library system has been down to our library now. And we just love having other librarians come in. There's so many cool kind of nerdy library things that we like to show people that when you're showing regular patrons, they don't get quite as excited about it. So yeah, please come visit us. If you have questions about how to get anything started, we're more than happy to help. We are in Kearns. We're right at 4275 West, 5345 South. We're just right on 5400 South and about 4200 West. It's a big kind of yellow grayish building. It's a little deceiving on the outside, but you walk inside and you're blown away.
Yeah, it looks a little more industrial on the outside.
It
On
does.
the inside, it's very creative. So I put in those links for the SBA materials. And as you can see, I typed too fast and have a typo, so please excuse me. And a big shout out to the other Create Spaces and Maker Spaces that helped inspire our space there at Kearns. I know there was a lot of research that went into choosing what was going to be used. And so we appreciate everybody else who has those Create Spaces already in place.
Yep.
And being so open and willing to share.
Well, thank you, both of you. That was amazing. I love hearing all the success stories with the businesses in the community. All right, well,
Guess we're good. 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Real one. Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate you coming.